Hi guys, welcome to episode 16 of Almost in Agreement. It is June 27th, 2020. We had a pretty exciting week this week. We had both Kyle Ward and Todd Frohmeyer come in and do interviews. Those will be releasing as well as this episode on Sunday the 28th. All four of us are in the room. Haven't had that in a couple weeks, and that's always exciting. So, I don't know. Let's start with...
Where's Jim?
Yeah. I gave up on Jim. I don't know about you guys.
That's some bitch.
No, I'm not giving up on him, man.
You were the one that tried to give on him last time we brought him up. You're like, why do we bother inviting that guy?
Well, sure, but that doesn't mean I give up on him as a human being.
I didn't say that.
He's a good guy.
So, what, like media stuff? Like, do we want to talk about COVID?
I don't want to talk about COVID.
I don't care.
As I was corrected, not riots, protests in our interview. Do we want to talk about... I don't know. Bees missing.
I'll tell you. All right, here's a cool one. The Sahara dust thing that's going on right now. That's pretty crazy.
Bees are important, but yes, definitely.
Is there an issue with the bees? I thought he was just continuing to ramble off bullshit.
No, all three of those issues.
I think he was
were
being sarcastic,
important.
but I think there's definitely an issue with.
I like this new version of Sam over here.
the one that talks.
About the porn star?
I like it.
Are you talking about the porn star, or are you talking about the one that's talking?
Yes, they're the same person.
They are one and the same.
I like the stash, though, man. I like it.
It's not staying long.
Why not?
Look at it. How would you say? Yeah.
What,
I mean, I'm sorry. Let's keep it going. That's
it was
a good
definitely
look.
more as a jest to amuse myself and the very few people that actually see it.
See, next week you need to go for the Adolf Hitler. Just shave off the edges a little bit.
Parses and pieces at a time.
I did that once going out to play poker just to like see if anybody would actually like say anything. Sadly, I've got enough like blonde hair that most people didn't even notice.
That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, man,
really
I like it. It looks good.
Well, I mean, last time you had a full beard.
Yeah, everything else is gone.
That's a good drawing, Jeremy.
Everything else is gone?
Yeah, I mean, I had a full
No. I mean, like, everything else is gone.
Right, and we had to restart the episode because of the original subject matter, and this is where we go immediately.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
I will prove this point. Zoop.
What's
That's
so
very, very bald.
Very bald.
Damn.
It's a very bald statement.
I blame this on some of our viewers. You guys should have some idea of what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, our view in Bolivia.
Oh yeah, we are.
Do we actually have somebody in Bolivia?
I mean, either they're in Bolivia or VPN says they're in Bolivia.
Okay, so listen, if you're in Bolivia, we'll do an entire episode based on what you want us to talk about. So whoever you are in Bolivia, send us a message. We'll talk about whatever you want us to talk about.
And I will send you $10, which is like making you a millionaire.
Yeah,
it's actually making you a $10.
Thanks for listening. We'll miss you when you're gone.
I don't know why anybody would listen to this.
What is the economy in Bolivia? Do we know anything about Bolivia? You guys know,
I don't know shit about
anything
Bolivia.
I'm not
Bolivia?
sure. If we would have that viewer reach out to us, we would know.
Yeah, come on. Email us. Tell us what's your,
How'd you find us? What do you care?
like,
Tell me about what accidental mistakes you've made in your life that got you to this.
What misclicks got you to us?
It's probably some Marine guy that...
He's like, fuck this country. I'm going to live in Bolivia. Let me find somebody that's
The
dumb
economy
as me.
of Bolivia is the 95th largest economy in the world in nominal terms and 87th largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. Bolivia is classified by the World Bank to be a lower middle income country.
Where's it located?
South America.
Look at you, business major. All right.
I mean,
He doesn't
Nice
know.
job.
He doesn't know anything about geometry
Yeah, business.
or civics because he confuses the two.
What'd you say?
Well, that's true.
Geometry?
What did he say earlier?
I said physics
oh, physics
on accident
or
when I was trying to say
civics.
civics.
Physics on civics.
Civics or physics. He
In
doesn't know
fairness, the
either
only
one.
reason why he knows anything about where this place is located is because it's cheap labor because he's a business guy. That's the only reason why he knows where this place is.
Do you want the actual honest answer?
I just gave it.
No, it's when I go look at the stats of listenership, it shows a world map.
That's the only reason.
And it
That's
highlights
fair.
it highlights
That's
the
true.
it highlights the countries, and you can click on the country, and then it'll actually highlight the county or region that it comes from. So like I can go to the U.S. and I can see how many people listen, how many episodes are downloaded from Tennessee, Georgia, and California are two bigger audiences. Tennessee, Georgia, California. But then Bolivia's down there. It's landlocked. It's not on the ocean. It's between it's like above Chile and Argentina, west of Brazil.
So they're
Check out the big brain on bread.
That's a good one.
Cha-ching.
I'm just saying, it's
Hey, don't
fairly
get us
straightforward.
demonetized now.
I mean, I don't know if there's an issue with that. Tarantino can suck it.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's own material. It's a
What's
question
own
of
material?
That
I just stated it, is what I said.
that was a hell of an impression. Good job.
Thank you
You're
very
good.
much. Have you
So
ever
AC?
heard of the Frank Caliendo stuff? I do that too on the side.
Yeah.
I'm good
So
at
AC, where
impersonations.
you gonna fight coronavirus next?
Allegedly, I'm going to Nashville.
That's a long way away.
It is a long way away.
They got a huge issue.
They do, actually. So this is something we could talk about. So the city of Nashville earlier today, maybe, or yesterday, are requiring all persons that are in business or like going outside or whatever to wear masks. It's a requirement now.
I saw
So-
that Shelby County and
Yeah.
Davidson.
Davidson
I guess,
County. Yep.
We're talking about
Mhm.
that. I don't know
So-
if they had mandated or there
It's a
was talk
mandate
of
now.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure is.
So the question I have for you, because we had this conversation with some other people, but we didn't have any medical professional to
We're not saying that we've got any right now here either.
actually tell us about this. But so if I wear a mask, does that? So if I wear a mask and you wear a mask, neither one of us can get coronavirus.
That's not necessarily true.
But it helps in the prevention.
Right. So, best analogy, I'm not sure if you and I had talked about this previously, but the best analogy that I have heard in this circumstance is think of it like if you can't stop peeing, you kind of like what's going on right here in the background. But that's
When
wine.
you gotta go.
I need a glass. Somebody want this Mick Ultra? I'd really have some wine.
Okay. Continue. I'll
Okay,
get you a
anyway.
glass.
So if all you're doing is like a lawn oscillator from your dong, right? If you don't have any clothes on at all, the chances of that hitting me are pretty high. On the flip side, if you wear like a pair of sweatpants, I'm probably not going to get hit with your urine. So it's the same sort of concept. So like I
Okay.
could get hit with some of it, but the chances of getting hit with 100% of it is not a lot.
So if
So it's a similar sort of analogy. Really.
you were wearing a mask and I was not wearing a mask,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference between? Okay, so no one wearing a mask,
Mm-hmm. It's like us walking around.
both
pissing
of
on
us wearing a mask,
people. Mm-hmm. That's
Or-
right.
or
each
me
other.
not wearing a mask and you wearing a mask.
Yeah, so the likelihood of us both getting something is increased because we're both not wearing a mask.
So if I'm not wearing a mask and
Mm-hmm.
you are wearing a mask, whose likelihood to?
I mean, I would venture the safe guess would be we're probably about equal at that point. You might have a higher rate of. I'm not sure that matters.
So the
really.
question
I think we're
is-
splitting
is-
hairs. I guess. Is
Well,
I'm saying.
what I'm saying is where people are like, "Oh, everyone needs to wear a mask. You
Everyone
need to wear
should.
a mask."
Yeah, everyone should.
But if I don't care if I get coronavirus and I don't wear a mask, how am I affecting everyone else that is
Big-
wearing a mask?
Because if you are a non-symptomatic case,
Correct.
you are then
Potentially giving it to somebody that would
Is
give
not
it to
wearing a
any-
mask?
Right. The question. No.
could or could not.
But like you wearing a mask, what does that prevent you from?
Not
It
100%,
prevents
but
you
greater than 0.
from spreading it to other people.
Right.
Yes.
It's the sharing. It's the you passing it off, not you
Right.
picking it up.
Like the only thing, I mean,
So the wearing the mask is you spreading it, not you preventing it.
correct.
Right.
That is the general consensus.
I think that's
I
bullshit.
mean, outside
It's bullshit
of
about it.
outside of having everyone put what I understand, an N95 mask or greater mask, which actually has, an actual like suction to it, to where you've got an N95 or greater mask on.
So the mask
You are-
does not
you are-
prevent you from getting it. It
Correct.
just prevents you from spreading it.
That's not
Correct.
true. That's not true. So it can prevent a certain percentage of it, just not 100% of it. It's
So,
better than nothing, is what we're saying.
If I'm in the hospital, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you're in the hospital, right?
Mhm.
Do you put masks on the patients?
Yes, when we are transporting patients outside of their rooms, they're all required to have it.
No,
yes.
but when they're in the room.
well, they're confined, and all of us are supposed to have. Everybody that goes into the room is supposed to have a mask on.
Yeah, so if the person in the room does not have a mask,
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me you having a mask prevents you from getting it.
Say that again.
If the person in the room does not have a mask on, and you go in that room with a mask, it's preventing you from getting it.
Or it could prevent that particular individual from getting it also.
No, you have somebody in a bed with coronavirus.
Right, but I could have went to a different room. Into a room that maybe somebody did have it, they were asymptomatic. Maybe they haven't been tested on it. See what I'm saying? So like that will actually, it's not just it helps me with the fact that I have the mask on, it also helps the person that I'm in the room with.
No, but the person in the room has coronavirus. Do they have a mask on?
They're typically intubated if they're in the hospital.
But they don't have a mask on.
They don't need to because it's a closed system. There's a tube down their throat, and there's no way for them to. If they cough into the tube, and the tube is connected to a unit, and so they don't need.
So you don't deal with anybody that's not intubated.
I don't know, and
so I'm curious.
By and large, people that are hospitalized for COVID, by and large, overwhelming majority of those patients are hospitalized with and intubated. Otherwise, they go home and they say, "Stay away from folks, don't go anywhere," etc.
So I'm just curious because when I was in the hospital wanting to get tested for COVID, no one asked me to wear a mask, and everyone that came in the room had a mask on. So if me not wearing a mask could still give them corona by them wearing a mask, why did they not make me wear a mask?
I mean, they probably could have or should have.
So my point is, it's not, if somebody's not wearing a mask, you shouldn't be pissed off if you're wearing a mask. That's the point I'm getting to. Like, don't be pissed off if I don't wear a mask when I'm at fucking Home Depot. If you're wearing a mask, you're preventing yourself from getting anything I'm throwing out there. Don't be mad because I'm not getting it.
Well, it doesn't take. I mean, so if you and I are at Home Depot, we don't know each other, and I have a mask on. That particular cloth mask, unless it's an N95 fit tested mask, there's still a risk that if you're asymptomatic, that I could get it. So I can still be pissed off at you because you may not know that you're positive, and I might still get it. That's your Home Depot example. That's not your hospital example.
No, so because you don't have the right mask. So if I have just a face covering that's not N95. And you have a face covering that's not N95. Is it preventing anything?
It is. It's greater than it's less than 100, but greater than 0.
I
don't know what's
somebody that's not a lawyer.
It's not a lawyer thing. I mean, if you're wanting a definitive answer, you're not going to get one.
I'm just saying that, like, don't be pissed off if I'm not wearing a mask. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask.
But that's a dumb response.
Why is that a dumb response?
Because I just explained why.
Because
you don't know that, like, unless you're tested every day, you don't know that you don't have it.
Exactly.
But I'm not worried about getting it.
That's good. You're not worried about getting it.
Yeah, so wear a mask.
Sure,
I'm not worried about getting the flu, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to get it.
Right, but the cloth mask doesn't take care of 100%. Is what I'm saying. It doesn't. So it's less than 100, but greater than 0. So if my chance of getting it now is 75% of what it would have been because I have a cloth mask on, as opposed to an N95, which also is not widely available to the entire public, then at the end of the day, it does make sense that people are upset about it because if they get it, they may actually die. You may be fine. You may have it and not even know it.
Then they'll go outdoors.
I mean, come on, man. That's a stretch.
No, I'm serious.
Like how do you buy milk? Like, how do you get bread?
There's fucking delivery services.
How do you work?
That's not my problem.
Come on.
Why do I have to wear a mask?
Dude, we're talking about a mask here. We're not talking about like a major change in your...
It's a major change.
It's not.
It is a major change.
Okay.
Is it a big ask?
It's really not.
Huh?
Is it really a big ask?
What, were you wearing a mask today when you were at our shop? No, I wasn't wearing a mask. Like,
I'm not.
No one here's wearing a mask.
I can. I've been tested. Like I am tested daily.
So why are you not worried being around me that does not wear a mask at all?
Because I know you.
That's silly.
I mean, is it silly? Like if I'm 60 years old and I have comorbid conditions and I don't know you, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't understand this desire to wear a mask. Like,
I just explained it.
When I went to Walgreens earlier today, I wore my mask.
I went to Kroger, I wore a mask. I went to Pilot, I had a mask on just a second ago.
That's what I went up there earlier and I put my mask on.
I don't think it's this idea that this is some like political. It seems like it's political to me.
It's not political.
It seems like it is to me.
I mean, Pence but made it such. He was like, I love to see that people are, exuding their...
It seemed like this is a freedom thing, and it's like, it's not that's not what this is about. This is about, there could be somebody that could benefit from the fact that we are all, as a collective, temporarily in public, just in public, wearing a mask. I don't think it's that big of a deal to ask.
Is it more comfortable to walk around without pants on? But you still put pants on to go in public?
Yeah, because I have to.
I mean, that's essentially what we're talking about with the Nashville-Memphis situation. That people are upset that they're mandating mask wearing, and it's just like, well, it's for the health and safety of others. It's not for your own protection.
No, if they mandate me to wear a mask, I will wear a mask in public.
But only if?
Yes, only if.
Okay.
Like if...
that is. I mean, I don't understand why somebody would have to tell you to do it for you to do it.
Because I'm not worried about it.
So you need somebody to tell you you need to worry about it for you to do it?
You're not worried. Are you... Do you have any concern for others around you?
No.
I don't believe that.
Okay, well then...
No, I don't.
Then that answers it.
Okay.
I mean,
I
I care
but
about
that's the
you
whole
three
point.
here
But that's
more
the
than
whole
I
point.
care about that fucking person I'm in at Kroger with. Like,
Just 'cause
I
you
love
don't-
you guys more than I love that random person at Kroger. So, in that case, I should be wearing a mask right now. Right? Like, none of us four are wearing masks. Why? So, you say I need to care about a random person that I don't know? More than...
So the health capacity of the four of us is actually pretty good right now. Like, you don't know who you're coming in contact with. Like, none of us are dealing with cancer. None of us have chemo treatment. None of us have had a coronary artery bypass at any point. None of us are dealing with peripheral vascular disease. None of us have had strokes. We don't have COPD, no emphysema. Like,
none of us are 75.
None of us are 75. None of us are type 1 fragile diabetics. Like, these are things that we don't know when somebody's next to us that they're picking up a fucking banana, that, like, they've got a laundry list of medical issues that are going on. Like, none of us have that right now. Like, right now, most of our stuff is like physical stuff, like back pain, and like, you probably will
retarded.
Be fair. He said it, not me. Don't look at me. I mean, I agreed with him, but shit.
Okay, so
that's what I'm saying, is that we don't know that when we're in the store.
I mean, within
and
the
I
US,
understand
there's
that,
a
but
lot
those
of
people,
underlying conditions.
If I don't know you, I don't care. I'm sorry, like, I don't.
I don't think
I'm
he
a
believes
libertarian
that.
here, and I disagree with that stance.
Yeah. I don't think he believes that, actually.
No, I do.
Okay, all right.
He's been brainwashed.
No, I do. I care about the people I like.
It's liberal media.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of our population that needs to go away.
Okay.
That's not necessarily wrong,
that's
but
a totally different argument.
It is. Those two are separate. When I said that, those two are definitely separate.
If you want to argue overpopulation,
but to me,
it's a totally different argument.
But you say you don't care. Then on the other hand, you said, well, if you're forced to do it, you would, and so like you'll adhere to the rule, but only if the rule exists.
right. That's why I disagree with it as a libertarian, because then that forces the need for the state to make things mandatory instead of decent, honest people.
Yes.
Being respectful and kind to those around them. That's the libertarian stance is, as much as the libertarian says, I don't want freedom. You know, but that freedom does come at a cost of being responsible on your own instead of having the state make you be responsible.
Yeah, sure.
As Seth said,
that's the first thing libertarianism that I've agreed with. That's good.
Yeah, I mean,
as Seth said,
that's the general assumption that.
Why do I wear pants? Because I don't want to get pulled over for walking. I have no problem being naked right now. Absolutely no problem.
I don't think you can get pulled over for driving around without pants on.
If they see it,
if you've got underwear on, I think you're good.
No, well, I mean,
all I'm saying is it's less of an imposition for me to wear a cloth mask for 5 minutes than it is for me to think that I may have caused somebody to be intubated as a result of me not wearing a cloth mask.
If I stop doing, and the people like me stop doing what we are doing, then you will not get all this extra money. So, you're welcome.
He's doing this because he loves you and he wants you to get your special
you to make
traveling
this extra
pay.
money to get this.
I don't have
extra
to. I don't
travel
have
pay.
to. I don't have
He's
to.
trying to get people sick for you.
Oh.
I don't have to make the money.
But
I don't.
Do you?
No, I don't.
Why'd you go to New Jersey?
Because it's available.
Exactly.
Exactly. What does exactly mean? Like that makes no fucking sense.
Because if I stop doing what I'm doing, then if everyone stops what
how
they're
many
doing,
beers have you had? This is like
no.
There's
Seriously,
way you believe this.
Seriously, like if we didn't have a corona problem, you wouldn't have been able to go to Jersey and make that money, right? Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. Like
so you wouldn't they would have taken you to New Jersey.
Are we really entertaining this as an argument? This is the dumbest fucking thing
I've ever. It's not the
ever.
dumbest argument.
Okay, well, let's go down the fucking rabbit hole. This is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever.
So wait, time out. I'm gonna interrupt because this is what it felt like for you guys when I went all libertarian stupid. Is that what you're saying right now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm waiting for an apology.
I'm not gonna apologize for it. I just wanted to clarify that this is the rough thing. I want to talk about the desert in the sky right now. I think that's the coolest shit ever.
No. AC got to make a shit ton of money because people.
Hold on a second. So let's take each of these steps one by one. You said got to. No, I don't have to.
No, you were you had the.
I am manipulating it.
Yes.
Okay.
So
sure, I'll give you that.
If the coronavirus completely ends, you don't have that ability to make that extra money.
That is correct.
So by me not wearing a mask and perpetuating the coronavirus allows you to make extra money.
Potentially.
You're welcome.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Because how many people in New Jersey have you infected?
It is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
No, but maybe we affect more people here in Knoxville.
Okay, let's go back to the dust. Like I'm way checked out of this.
Stay here.
Tell me more about this.
But he's not going to get a bonus working here, so it didn't.
Tell me about the dust thing in Africa.
I just think apparently it's a normal thing. It happens regularly, but this year's extra large because everything in 2020's got to be fucking crazy version of it.
I meant to try to watch the sunset because they said that was supposed to be crazy, but I missed it today.
Sunset here?
Yeah, because with the
dust,
so basically a dust storm in the Sahara Desert got pulled up into the atmosphere, traveled all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, and is now working its way up the southeast up to New England or whatever, and we're in the thick of it. And apparently it's a normal thing. It happens a couple times every year or so, but this one again, it's because it's 2020 and everything else has to be an extra large version of whatever the fuck it is. This one's the biggest one in decades. And I've noticed it today when I was driving over the hill in Morel here, and I was coming down the hill at the mall because I was at the high spot.
Is that what that haze is?
Yeah, that's what that haze is. Is that
I was wondering, I was looking at the weather and they said it was a chance of storms, and I'm like, is that a cloud or is that a dust cloud?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So we're getting some African flu now that
probably.
Yeah, we might get some.
So I think that's how the beast. But I think that's how hurricanes start in when they show up in the Gulf. Is that there's some sort of, we'll have to look this up, but there's a warm jet stream that goes through the desert in Africa that collides with I'm not a
making sure
climatologist,
meteorologist. Yeah, we don't believe in science around here. So those people are those are fiction writers.
But no, it's true that the hurricanes, as far as I understand, do come off of the Sahara, go through the Atlantic,
right,
and then turn into storms. As far as what we consider hurricanes,
Hurricane Katrina was really really initiated as a jet stream in
tsunami,
Africa.
Yeah,
that's the smartest thing Ron Jeremy ever said.
Ron Jeremy and House. I just think it's a neat thing. It's nothing. As far as I understand, it's nothing significant as far as it doesn't do any major damage or anything. It's supposed to produce some pretty cool sunsets, but I don't know. I just thought it was neat.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah, I mean that's.
So come on, Seth. I mean, you don't have agenda. You're the person that's supposed to be do we want to go down to Jo Jorgensen's?
Well, you were supposed to prepare that for us because we had a really great idea because he didn't listen to your idea, so you were gonna produce that for us.
Get online. Someone get online. Let's see what she stands for, and see if AC would vote for her.
Okay, let's do it.
I did ruin one thing about her that she plays
hockey. Yep.
Yeah,
she does play hockey.
Which
is not a good thing.
It was some kind of chart that
Makes
was on
me
Facebook.
Not want to vote for her.
And it was I must say a very biased graph of her between the left and the right, and her in the middle. And I just thought it was really odd that the last thing was she plays hockey. Joe Biden does not. Trump does not play hockey. And I'm like,
if one of the complaints is we've got two,
that's your last thing that you want people to read,
right? That you don't want two ancient white dudes as your two options. Here's somebody who's not ancient or a dude, at least in the.
That's your.
Well, that's kind of like the guy that we had here earlier. If you think Joe Biden is a good choice. He said that if you think he's a good choice,
he's playing the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, but he didn't say that. Like, I gave him the opportunity to say that.
Well, I mean, he doesn't like. I mean, I knew that the flip was switched when he mentioned Mayor Kane and his feelings about Mayor Kane, and I knew that was just all right. It's done. Max is now. You've made Max an enemy. It's a good thing Max is not one of your actual constituents, so you don't have to worry about pissing him off. But
Well, you like that guy for some reason?
Kane?
Yeah.
Kane's good.
Okay. What's good about him?
Or do you want
A
to?
lot.
Okay, tell me a couple.
Do you want to read them off for responses?
He's a wrestler.
Oh shit. Tell me more about this Desert Sahara stuff.
Okay, so Jo Jorgensen, JoJ2020.com. It's her official campaign website. Jo Jorgensen's bold, practical, libertarian vision for America's future. Generations of Republican and Democrat politicians have failed the people of America. Today, they've given us over $23 trillion in debt, nonstop involvement in expensive and deadly foreign wars, skyrocketing health costs, the highest imprisonment rate in the world, a broken retirement system, tariffs that are destroying markets, and an endless immigration crisis. Jesus,
So
that was
far,
fucking hard.
I'm 100% in agreement with everything this person has said. So
Okay.
give me some policy.
Here's a brief overview of my bold, practical, libertarian vision for America's
Who is
future.
this again?
Jo Jorgensen.
Jo Jorgensen.
JoJ2020.com. Government spending, deficit and debt, neutrality and peace, healthcare. Let's start with healthcare.
Sounds good.
Republican and Democrat policies over the past 50 years are the reason healthcare has become so expensive. The latest proposals to fix healthcare will further micromanage your doctors and restrict your access to care while failing to solve the underlying problem. They differ only on whether this should be done by private insurance companies or government bureaucrats. This is the exact opposite of what needs to be done. We can reduce the costs of healthcare by 75% by allowing real price competition and by substantially reducing government and insurance companies' paperwork. This will make healthcare affordable for most Americans while also reducing the cost of legacy programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA.
How?
Same way Bernie Sanders is paying for stuff, I guess. So, I mean, I don't. It doesn't say.
I mean, Bernie Sanders has talked about, cutting earmarks and stuff in defense.
I mean, the libertarian stance, to answer your question on her behalf, which I don't know her official answer to it, but it would be that by allowing actual open market price competition by the hospitals and healthcare industry, that is what will bring the cost down.
I mean, that was one thing, and I kind of texted you about it. And looking at what I came to find out was the official libertarian website.
Right.
And trying to look at their policies, and it was, from my very uneducated viewpoint, it just seemed kind of vague. It was like hitting on the
I got wine.
great viewpoints, but no real explanation.
Right.
It was like one or two paragraphs.
Right.
And I, like most people, would want to wonder, like, okay, that sounds great, but how do you make that happen? How do you put that into action?
Okay.
I'm positive.
But I mean, but that goes for any.
Right. I think the Democratic Party platform version of the same thing.
That's Republican or Democrat. Right. I mean, you're gonna think it's like, oh, we want to make America great again, or
wait.
We want
Democrats do not say make America great again.
We're
just saying that.
And I'm pretty sure that was.
Like no one can ever say I want to make America great again. Like he's a genius for cloning that because you can't ever say that without thinking about Trump.
I wonder if he actually tried to.
I want to make it. No, I can't.
Did he copyright that? Like, I'm curious. Like, could he actually copyright that bullshit?
I mean, I would assume that they all do it. I would assume that every campaign does.
Like, we want to make America great again. We want
whether he did or the party does.
We want to make the low income happy, and we want to make people great. I mean,
nice.
You can make those fucking stances all you like, but that doesn't make them come to fruition.
But it's a good slogan though, and like you can't deny that like.
Okay.
It just goes back to this.
Make America great. Who does not want to follow that policy?
We should clap for it. Oh, that was so great you came up with that. And like, make America great again.
Well, he didn't come up with that.
Let's make you a president now.
He had somebody in his cabinet that was a lot smarter than him go.
Oh, definitely.
Let's come up with this.
He totally did not come up with that. He totally did not come up with that.
This goes back to what we were talking about with the Facebook thing back like 2 months ago.
The last time you were here?
If we were... No, I was here less than 2 months ago. If you're voting for somebody just based on superficial shit, you're an idiot anyway. if you're reading a Facebook headline, you're making your decisions based on a Facebook headline, you're an idiot.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, like,
if you look at anything on Facebook that is a clip of, I mean, we were talking about this today, that I keep on seeing this clip from Obama that's like, I wasn't born in America. I was born in, what do you say?
Weirdest
Kenya.
Obama impression ever.
Kenya. Like, you know, and they play that clip of him saying it, and if you watch the whole clip, he said, people are saying that I'm not born in America. I'm born in Kenya. But they don't play the first part.
Sure.
And they chop that part. So every redneck in America is like, oh, look at him. He's saying he wasn't born in America.
Okay, so this is a terrible transition, but it just reminded me of one thing I did want to talk about is the Bubba Wallace situation. You guys been following the NASCAR news thing and all?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. We can keep going down. Let's finish Joe, and then we'll come back to Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, that's finished. Jo
technically, we
Jorgensen.
haven't really started Joe because I don't know what any of his policies are.
Her.
Whatever.
Just saying.
Come on, you don't want to vote for
Just
the
saying.
first female president?
I don't think Joe's running for president. Are they running for president?
That's what we're talking
Yes.
about.
Technically.
Joe Jorgensen,
He
libertarian.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic.
If you're not educated, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. Keep going.
All right, government spending, deficits, and debt. As president, I will use my constitutional authority to block any new borrowing. I will veto any spending bill that would lead to a deficit and veto any debt ceiling increase. I will give every cabinet secretary a specific spending reduction target to meet and hold them accountable. There's simply no excuse for sticking our children and grandchildren with the bill for these bipartisan and bloated budgets.
And how do they expect to do that when they don't control anybody in Congress?
I mean, the veto.
Or they can't because 2/3 will override it.
I'm just saying that is the stance. It's
Right. I'm just telling you that stance. There are not 2/3 independents in Congress. It will not override the veto. I mean, it will override the veto.
okay.
So
I mean, so are we arguing?
I'm saying that it's not practical. Is what I'm saying. If
So,
that's the stance,
but-
that's fantastic. But it seems like lip service.
If you're going to argue that this person can't do that because they are an independent, then anything she says and
Anything radical.
no, anything at all.
Well, not anything. I mean,
So
No, anything at all. Like if you're saying that because she's an independent and Congress and the Senate is going to be Democrat or Republican,
No.
then she can't do anything.
not at all. Read that again.
As president, I will use my constitutional authority to block any new borrowing. I will veto any spending bill
Stop.
that would lead to a
So
deficit.
she can't veto because it'll be overridden by Congress. That's what I'm saying. So she can veto anything if she wants to. If there's a 2/3 majority in Congress,
the veto is
the veto
overridden.
is
Right.
overridden. That's what I'm saying.
But you're not going to have 2/3 with being a Democrat and a Republican. They are never going to fucking agree on anything.
I don't believe that at all.
I agree with AC on this one. They will absolutely agree to
Yes.
disagree with, because again, it goes back to there's two parties, there's right or wrong thing that we've talked about, and it's prior to that discussion, but that idea had kind of dawned on me in the same kind of time frame, is that as the guy trying to argue for libertarianism, I'm wrong to both.
Correct.
And that's where she will end up sitting in the same position.
Correct.
Is that anything that she is trying to do, because it's not about, because we've talked about it a couple times, and it's like, well, I'm voting for Biden because it's not Trump. Well, it's the same premise in that I'm voting for Biden because it's not Trump or Jorgensen, or it's
So you're,
it's not me. It's not
so
my
what you're
team
saying
doing it.
is because the Republicans and the Democrats are going to be against the independent, she won't be able to get anything done.
Well, no, it's because they're against anybody who isn't them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this particular veto situation, now she may have a policy that she can get Republicans or Democrats behind. I'm just specifically targeting what she said right here, which is she would veto. I don't give a shit what she vetoes. At the end of the day, it's going to be overridden. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is.
Right, but the hope would be that the noise it would create would start putting scrutiny under some of the issues that I would think that a lot of Americans would agree with.
So let's look at her policies and not the veto part.
I'm okay.
Do you like this person?
I'm okay with that, but I think she needs, like, the veto stuff is nothing more than rhetoric. Because
Right.
in actuality, it's not going to happen.
Okay, but the principle of, as president, I will fight hard for a balanced budget. We are not taking new
Sure.
debt. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling.
I think Republicans and Democrats can get on board with that.
And so that part of it, take it. I mean, it's essentially, being the libertarian, she has to push it in the constitutional sense.
Sure.
But the idea being, this deficit spending we can't keep doing. At some point,
I agree with that.
it's going to come.
I agree with
It's
that.
going to come to roost, and we're not going to stick that on our kids. Neutrality and peace. Turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral, with a military force to defend America's.
Just do it. Hold on. We got a mic problem. Hold on.
I'm having all sorts of sound issues tonight.
Let's fix this real quick, and then somebody decided to say, "What's this switch on my microphone?" and press it.
And go.
There we go.
All right, and somehow nothing changed. Cool.
You and I are the only ones that are sober tonight. Is that what it is?
I'm trying not to be, but I'm behind the 8 ball apparently.
I'm
He's
sorry.
like,
I
my
could have
com-
swore like my mic was sounding, and it definitely does sound totally different right now.
Right, it does. I'm having a really hard time keeping sound straight tonight. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Seth was like, "I have my county commissioner running elect. I can't drink tonight. I've got to stay sober."
No,
Go on.
I usually don't start until
I'm
we
listening.
start, but whatever. Turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral, with a military force to defend America's shores and soil against any foreign attackers or invaders, protect by an armed citizenry and by a military laser focused on defending America. No U.S. involvement in foreign wars, bringing home our 200,000 plus American military personnel stationed in foreign countries. No U.S. military aid to foreign governments. No U.S. blockades or embargoes of
That's
This
a
one's
lot.
longer.
That's a lot in that statement.
Right.
No, it goes on. I actually got
I know.
paused because
So may I ask you a question as the de facto spokesperson for libertarianism here?
okay.
Should we bring all of the troops from all of the foreign bases back to the United States tomorrow?
No, I think I think it's one of the things that libertarians struggle with a lot too. Is that I mean, I've mentioned it before. It's that I end up kind of arguing in the abstract. Is a good example would be like, okay, so the U.S. isn't this way. We have the Second Amendment. We have the right to keep and bear arms and stuff like that. But if we were to, let's say we're like a U.K., right? And the U.K. as a general populace is not allowed to carry. They're not allowed to own weapons unless it's very specific set of hunting weapons and X, Y, and Z or whatever. And so if you're the U.K. and a libertarian comes in and starts pushing policies in, do we get to pick, like the inside the party, I guess the argument is, do we get to pick which order we make these transitions in? So in the UK gun issue, it's like, well, our populace is unarmed, so we're not going to dismantle our military. At the same time, we allow the public to start carrying. We let the public start carrying, get that thing in place, and slowly dismantle our military in the same time.
I'm trying to figure
in a little bit of a different time frame. And so I think it's as the de facto libertarian here, I think the statement in general is, yes, we want to bring everybody home. We want to be done with this. But I think it's more complicated than that, in that you got, look, I mean,
complicated.
The economic issue of what do you do with 200,000 new people looking for jobs and stuff like that.
It's a genuine concern.
Right. And so I think it's the ideal is there, but it certainly can't be just you can't just snap it and everybody's gone, because we've talked about this last week, a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how, this is probably more weeks ago than that, but like all our Middle East interventionism that hasn't really accomplished anything really positive for us as citizenry. It's done well for certain business people and whatnot.
Pause. Assuming that we are on the same page for what that good is,
Right.
the definition of that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like there are certainly people that have benefited greatly from our
Right.
our-
So
and American citizens.
maybe it
some
has
have.
worked.
Right. For certain peoples, yes. But I'm just saying, as far as the general populace as a whole, I mean, we aren't a safer people because of the governments that we've forced in place in these places. And whatnot. That's the argument, at least. And if we were just to snap our fingers and pull everybody out, there is a situation of there's a I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know. There's no finish line, but at the same time, just disappearing doesn't fix anything either. And I think that would exacerbate some of the problems we already have with certain regions and countries and stuff like that. So just a cut and run isn't necessarily the right answer, but at least.
But I don't know if that's what she's saying.
I think she's unequivocally saying, get
yeah,
everybody out of here.
No,
Yeah.
we need to bring our troops back. That does not mean we need to, day one, pull everyone back.
I saw
I mean,
interesting,
there's got to be a policy involved in
Right.
bringing people back.
Well, that's why I bring up the UK example
Nah.
of it's like it at least rhetoric wise, yeah, it's like we want to bring our boys home. That's the thing, right? But I'm just using the phrase. We want to bring everybody home because this is not worth it, especially libertarian stance. Whatever's going on there is not really an actual benefit for us as a populace. There are people benefiting, but as a populace, this isn't good for us as a country. We need to get the fuck out of there. But the realization, that's the statement, but the realization is we can't just cut. I think that's my thoughts, at least. Maybe that's not hers. Maybe she is just straight up on January 7th or whatever it is when she officially takes office. I'm commander-in-chief now. Bring him home and we'll figure it out. There's a lot of world stability issues that would create by just cut and run. And I acknowledge that as an issue, but at least if the premise is to start truly working that direction, because the one positive of Trump is that he hasn't started a new war. He's continued all the wars we've been in, but at least he hasn't started a new one. And he's the first president in like 5 that hasn't started a new war during his administration. He hasn't actually cut any off like he promised he would.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, am I wrong?
I mean, I think Obama essentially inherited Iraq and Afghanistan.
Obama started like 4 or 5 new. They're not.
He went into. Sorry, I'm sorry. He did go into Libya.
Are you talking about wars or
outside of that?
We're operating definition.
If we're gonna get technical.
I mean, outside of that, military engagements.
Obama took us into Venezuela.
We were already.
He took military into Venezuela. He took.
Wait, what?
I believe he did. Did he not? All right, I missed that one. Qatar, not Qatar. Fucking shit. I don't remember them all.
Bolivia.
Not Bolivia. We love you, Bolivia.
That's why we had that one thing.
That's right.
I don't recall this.
There were new military actions against new sovereign nations.
We were already in Iraq, Afghanistan, with.
No,
I think we started to go into Syria.
Obama,
we started to go into Syria.
We were in Iraq under Bush, and we moved into Afghanistan under Obama.
That's not true.
No, yeah, we were already in Afghanistan during Bush.
That was under Bush.
We were already in Afghanistan during Bush.
Yeah, 100%.
Obama inherited the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, and various aspects of the War on Terror. Started with Bush.
I mean, during Obama, we went into Libya.
This is LA Times.
Outside of that, I don't think he started any other international engagement.
Okay, so this is LA Times. This is quick research. 2017 LA Times. Before he took office in 2008, Barack Obama vowed to end America's grueling conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. During his second term, he pledged to take the country off what he called a permanent war footing. Blah, 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 blah. But Obama leaves a very different legacy as he prepares to hand his commander-in-chief responsibilities to Trump. The U.S. military forces have been at war for all 8 years of Obama's tenure, the first 2-term president with that distinction. He launched airstrikes or military raids in at least 7 countries: Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Okay.
Somalia and Pakistan. So Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan were already happening. Syria, Libya, Yemen, and Somalia were new, I think. The U.S. faces more threats from more places at the same time. Anyway, that was the point of my statement. Where were we before that sidetrack? I apologize.
You were trying to say that Trump was the first president in 5 that had started a war, and we were just saying that
that's not true.
That's not true. And if you want to say military conflict, then maybe.
I guess I don't. I mean, I guess that's the libertarians use the definition of the word war, but.
At the same time, we kind of had that general vague term of war on terror, which opened it up to
right. Well, Al-Qaeda
anywhere.
Works in this country, and this country, so we can jump in and out in between. So yes, I acknowledge that just the cut and run can't functionally happen. But if that's the direction that the White House is pushing, then I'm 100% for it. And figuring out how to get us out of. I mean. As a standard American, just as a normal American citizen that doesn't have any, I don't have any. I mean, I guess I do. I own some Boeing stock, so I guess I do have some interest in the military production, the military industrial complex. But so outside of the complex, what
for the sake of argument,
okay,
what harm is it that we are in other countries right now?
To us.
Period. As a U.S. national interest is in mind. So just for the sake of argument,
okay.
Why would we need to pull out of having a base in South Korea?
I mean, that's the extreme version. I
don't think it's an extreme version. I think it's
no.
genuine...
I'm saying her version being the extreme version of pulling everybody
okay.
back here. I understand on an actual truly national defense, the only purpose for it is to keep people from coming to our shores and causing problems. As a strategic advantage, I see having a base in South Korea, in Guam. Well, Guam's a property of ours. Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Having bases around the world.
Germany.
I don't know if the German one makes sense, but
no, it makes sense because it's a U.S. military base that gets you to the Middle East without having to worry about anything.
Right, but that's the premise that you're taking. If you were in a defense format, why do you need to be close to the enemy's home?
Because you need to make sure that you can land in a place that is safe before you go there.
Right, and I get that. I get that, but
that's what I mean.
Right, I acknowledge the premise of having bases around the world. I don't think that's. I don't think
my question,
that's the top level of it. It's the intervention of actually we're on the ground. We're shooting citizens of another country. We're using our military to kill citizens of another country. Can we definitively say that there is a positive result in that? Like, I mean, to try to argue the negative that this could have happened if we didn't do that, but it could have not happened even if we didn't do it either. And so I could see the argument and I can play along, but it's like, well, it could have happened, but it could not have happened. So that's not a really fair argument.
I think this argument becomes more complicated simply because we're in the middle of Iraq and Afghanistan, and if we do pull out right now, there's a power vacuum and people get in there and take over. And so I think if this is an easier conversation for us to have if we're not there. But I don't think any sane person, libertarian or otherwise, is going to say it would be in the United States' best interest as a libertarian if we don't have U.S. troops in Vietnam. Like that, I cannot imagine a situation where there's a true libertarian that thinks that is actually good policy.
Right. I'm not.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I'm completely against the industrial military complex. And I say that, and we need to have military bases in other portions of the world.
What is she saying? We need to pull out all our military
bases?
bases?
Yeah,
her statement is come home and then bring them home.
Yes.
Everybody's home.
Well, no. Is she saying?
Reread
I
it.
think that's.
Read it
I think
again.
that's.
That's a big difference.
It's bring troops that are fighting home, not bring all our military bases.
Let's see what she says.
I mean, okay. So the headline being "Turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral, with a military force to defend America's shores and soil against any foreign attackers or invaders, protected by an armed citizenry and by a military laser focused on defending America. No U.S. involvement in foreign wars. Bring home our 200,000 plus American military personnel stationed in foreign countries." So yes, she is saying
all of them.
right
down.
Right, shut down Germany, shut down.
I am
South Korea.
again.
I disagree with that.
I 100%. I agree with you. Like
you
got to be there.
When I first said that, I was like, yeah, we need to have those foreign embassies. We need to have those. Yeah, those bases.
Are you guys almost in agreement?
No, I think we're agreeing completely here
on this topic.
Right, but I mean, I think the front end is right, but I think that specific detail, I agree is not the best.
Okay. Let's go on to the next.
It might be the worst.
I mean, if that is that your line in the sand for her? Is that one?
I think that's one for me. Yeah, man. Like at the end of the day, listen, it's good for the economy. Just to be frank, It's good for the economy, and you are beyond naive if you think that pulling U.S. troops out of foreign countries like South Korea and Vietnam is in the best interest of the United States.
So who are you voting for then? No one?
You're still going to write in Bernie, even though Bernie doesn't bother explaining.
I don't know. I've got plenty of time to figure that out. I don't know.
All right, so moving on to the environment. I will work to remove government barriers to replacing coal burning and oil burning power plants in the United States with safe, non-polluting, high-tech nuclear power plants and allowing off-grid use of solar power worldwide. I believe we need to consider all scientific and economic knowledge to care for our environment, not cherry-pick data to support a predetermined outcome. Most pollution is generated in developing countries, so reducing pollution worldwide requires cost-efficient, zero-emission energy sources like nuclear.
So she's dying on the hill of nuclear?
I mean, it's just like...
Sounds like she's definitely pro-nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, next topic.
Social Security...
Got her gun policy.
Yeah,
I know that's one AC's interested.
Oh, she is. We'll get there. Fine. I already know this one, but we'll go there. Social Security is next on the list. Do you trust politicians to keep their promises? I don't. They spent every cent in Social Security trust fund on other spending, leaving behind worthless IOUs. Other countries have successfully replaced their government-run systems with individual retirement accounts safe from greedy politicians. As president, I would work to implement a solution like the Cato Institute's 6.2% solution, which would allow any American the opportunity to opt out of the current system while making the current system fiscally stable for those who choose to remain. I don't know that Cato Institute solution. Essentially,
it sounds like you could opt out of Social Security if you don't want to pay into it.
In fairness, W. Bush tried to get this. This was one of his campaign deals when he was running against John Kerry. This is not a new thing.
No, it's not. Social Security's been
this is not a new concept.
I mean, it's one of those super pandering issues to the older, more active below the older population that is more active voting.
I'll opt out.
Actually, it's better for us because we assume that it's not going to be there. So it's not for the older population because the older population can't make the money.
I could take what I'm getting, what's getting taken from me, and I can put it in my own retirement account. That doesn't.
So it's not necessarily the older folks. It's the folks that are like 30 to 50.
Right, but as a candidate, you're pitching. I'm going to protect and save Social Security to the older population who is a more active voting demographic. That's why a lot of
no, she wasn't saying
she's not. Save. No, I'm not. She's not at all. I'm saying traditionally the candidates pitch. I'm going to protect and fix Social Security because they know that
the baby boomer base.
Right. They know that the voting demographic tends to lean higher in age, and so there's pandering or the rhetoric is to sell to the older population.
I think we're splitting hairs.
I'm agreeing. I'm just clarifying the point.
Okay.
Trade and immigration. The freedom to trade and travel are fundamental to human liberty. As American citizens, we should be free to travel anywhere we choose and to buy and sell anywhere in the world. As president, I'll use my constitutional authority to eliminate trade barriers and tariffs and work to repeal arbitrary quotas on the number of people who can legally enter the United States to work, visit, or reside. Now, this is a really hot button topic inside the Libertarian Party. This is one that has a lot of different camps that fight over immigration issues. I'm like, as the token libertarian here, I go back and forth on how I feel about trade barriers and tariffs. Like I really do, because like we talked about it last week, 2 weeks ago, about how U.S. manufacturing sucks, and we can't keep up in the world market. And AC and I have discussed off air a couple times about like why in the 50s we were capable of doing this and why I can't do it now and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And so the economics of how that would work if we had a zero tariff, zero trade barrier system on the working populace of the United States is a concern of mine. Whether keeping them in place is the right solution to, because I don't know. I mean, it's complicated. You got on the one hand, it should get better, cheaper goods, more available to more citizenry, which makes the cost of living go down a little bit. But at the same time, how do we work if we're not making anything because we can't compete functionally? But that, I mean, I would assume, but I don't know, it's not mentioned here, but I would assume that goes into the libertarian stance on minimum wage requirements, OSHA, all the different alphabet soup of DC that is involved in making the cost to do business and the cost to manufacture in the United States more expensive. Presumably, some of the libertarian view is going to be like, well, we can compete better on the world stage because all these different regulations and stuff that are in the way of us competing get pushed off the map. So that one's tough, and I acknowledge that even as the token libertarian.
The interesting thing, though, is by definition, the United States as an economy requires a third world type economy in order to succeed.
Right.
Because otherwise cheap labor doesn't exist.
Right.
Which means that if we don't have a China or an India or other countries that are creating this stuff that we overprice on a daily basis here, we can't sell it. Mm-hmm. We have to have that.
Right. And it gets interesting because you look at China as it develops without their version of government.
Correct.
Arbitrarily being able to keep this cost down.
100%.
They are essentially putting themselves in this weird spot where they might develop past their usefulness, and then it's going to shift over. And that's why I don't know if you've seen any of it. Like, there's a lot of Chinese interest in Africa right now. That like Huawei and some of the other major quote independent companies of Chinese origin, which are really, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. they're going into Africa to look for new places to set up places to, because their citizenry is getting past the point where they're willing to work for the slave labor issues, and so they're already starting to. China is starting to do what we already did, which made China what it is, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
In the world economics,
I mean, that is a world.
Holy
economic
shit!
issue.
Time out, people. It is 10:52 on 6/27, and like you've agreed with me like 5 times tonight.
That's bullshit.
It's fucking
I
weird.
just-
Make a mark. Make a mark.
I think part of it is I think we finally decided that it's good that you actually study up on this stuff and don't talk through your ass.
I'm not. This is the first time I've read through this whole thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I think you're just actively deciding not to just spew out word vomit.
I don't know. It hurts my feelings a little bit.
I mean,
Anyway.
I saw an interesting thing that was talking about just as far as honey. They actually did like the genetics of honey that was being distributed throughout the world, to where they figured out that China was actually exporting to like Malaysia and some of the other like Southeastern Asian countries to then essentially kind of outsource any kind of tariffs that were going into other countries.
Through honey?
Honey as a specific example.
We got fucking.
To where they found that a lot of honey was coming like out of China, but they found when they looked at the pollen content, was then it was being marketed as coming out of other countries.
Oh, so China's lying about where they're producing their honey.
That was more what I was going into, to where countries are essentially saying that certain markets are coming out of other markets.
Right.
To then distribute them to other markets,
right? And
to where
as a way to bypass some of the different.
Right. The U.S. says, hey, we're not going to import any Chinese honey. To where China says, okay, well then honey didn't come from China.
Right. This comes from
that
Malaysia.
Honey came from Malaysia.
I get what you're saying. Okay. That was really hard on the front end of that, but it made sense as you explained. Criminal justice and reform. I am appalled that the United States ranks number 1 in the world for having the highest percentage of people imprisoned. I'm also appalled that the federal government permits police to seize a person's assets without first convicting them of a crime, and then keep most of these seized assets. This is literally highway robbery. As president, I will use my constitutional authority to end federal civic asset forfeiture prior to conviction and pardon persons convicted of nonviolent, victimless crimes. I will also work with Congress to end the failed war on drugs and other victimless crime laws.
Side note: this idea of constitutional authority,
civil forfeiture,
I don't like it because this is granting greater power to the seat of the presidency, which I am not for. I don't care who's in office. So this is like the 3rd time now this particular candidate has said constitutional authority. I'm not for that at all.
But she's not using something she's not making something up. She's using something that's in place. Don't think that the presidents prior to her are not using that.
Well, my point is that each office of the presidency have its own set of lawyers that can argue that they have the power and authority to do X, Y, and Z, regardless of whether their predecessors have. My stance is, I don't like the fact that it seems like she's saying, I have the power to do this, nobody prior to me has, and I will argue with my lawyers that I can.
Now, maybe as the homer,
that's what I'm saying.
Right, maybe as the homer on this one, I read that as, I will do this within the bounds of the job, as opposed to, I'm going to tweak the job to do this.
If that's the case, she wouldn't have to say that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I don't know. I think I think
I don't know who you like, AC.
What do you mean?
Like,
nobody.
You
People
argue
suck.
with everybody.
We should hold these motherfuckers to the fire. I've been very clear about that.
True story.
No, yeah, but I've not. We're trying to find a candidate that you all actually like.
I may not like any of them, and that's okay. Like, I'm okay with that.
You shouldn't have to pigeonhole someone into a candidate.
I like TWRA.
Yes, you got to pigeonhole because
why?
Because you have to fucking vote.
I don't have to vote
you
now.
You can't write your own name in.
Sure, I agree. I get that, but it's June.
Let me say that. Yes, you can write your own name in, but that's stupid.
Whether that's stupid or not, I don't know. I'm just saying it's June. Like, we should still.
It is stupid. If
okay,
you write
I don't care. That has nothing to do with this.
If you write your own name in, it's stupid.
Okay, good. That's stupid. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is it's June. Like, we should hold these motherfuckers to the fire in June We should hold them to the fire the day of Election Day. And even after Election Day, actually. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
I can critique him and still vote for somebody.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find somebody that you like more.
Me too,
That's
man.
why we're trying to do this.
Yeah, but yeah.
We're doing
And I think
this.
that's- I
We're
think-
doing this only for you.
Oh, I
but I
appreciate
think,
that.
but I think I think the reality is that more people are probably no. You're special. Never mind. I was gonna say more people. I think more people should be.
Yes.
More
100%.
people should be critical of the situation, which is why I'll argue for a third party whether I agree with the third party or not, because the third party begets more. It holds the big thing about the third party to me, especially the Libertarian Party, is going to hold the current Republican and Democratic Party to their own standards. Their own standards. If the Republican Party says there are this, then if there's a strong Libertarian Party presence, because the Democrats aren't holding the Republican Party to their standard, because it doesn't matter, because it's not the Democratic Party, and that's all the Democratic Party cares about.
And vice versa.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And so a third party is going to force both the current parties to be more true to their real base than their extreme base, which was the problem. The big problem with the world right now is that both Republican and Democratic parties are so stuck pandering to the extreme version of their base that everybody in the middle is left out, where I would argue that the majority of the population is probably more in the middle, and even though they are the true masses, they are the voiceless masses, because the loud ass extremes are doing it. And any third party that's somewhere in the middle is going to force the Republicans and Democrats to pull themselves back to more center, because that's where the population is. And I think the Libertarian Party is the best of the third parties that I am familiar with to be centered. Whether they lean right or not and steal more from the right, if we get into election conversation about them or whatever, that's fine. But either way, I think the Libertarian Party as a whole is more centered. And if there is any real strong footing with a third party, I hope it's the Libertarian Party, because again, it's going to force the Republicans and the Democrats to pull back to their more conservative versions of themselves than the more extreme versions, which is what they're all answering to right now.
I don't agree or disagree with that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, we need to have a public that is actually interested in having debate and criticizing the people that they vote for. Like, it's easy to criticize your opponent. It's a hell of a lot more difficult to criticize a person that you're voting for.
Right.
Until we're actually okay with that, this fucking shit show that we've got going on is going to continue.
Right.
It's going to be this binary bullshit of Democrat, Republican, right and wrong. This shit's never going to be any different. This is how it's going to be forever. Forever.
So the only way to get that is to get a third party.
I don't say the only way.
I think that's one of the ways.
Other ways.
I think the other way is that, like, we really need to stop this tribalism shit where this is my guy and I'm fucking for him no matter what. Like, I think that's an issue. Like, if you're for Biden no matter what, you're an idiot.
Right. And
Like,
if you are anybody but Trump, which is what I argue with Jamie the lawyer about on that interview, is like he literally is so angry about Trump that he wants to punish all Republicans for it. And like I get the feeling, I understand the feeling behind that sentiment, but it doesn't matter. I mean, literally his stance right now is
A defeatist stance.
is you could put any corpse up and put the D next to their name, and I'm going to vote for them because it's not a Republican, because I'm so pissed off about Trump.
Yeah, so that's dumb. I mean, sure. I mean, that in my opinion, I think that's philosophically disingenuous.
Right. You know, and like I like and you know, in that interview, I don't know if you guys went through it or not, but like in that interview, it's just like I got to later in the portion of it. It's like I don't feel like I'm special in my outlook in the world right now. I don't feel like we as a group here are unique in seeing how stupid what's going on is. And I think that most of us as a populace agree more than we don't. It's just it's the tribalism, like you said, it's the, if it's not me, it's wrong thing that's going on. And then it's on top of that further sold to us through the media systems that we are just, we are conditioned to be outraged instead of conditioned to be like, okay, well, let's see what's going on here. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the major problem. And yeah, I
agree with that.
I would agree with Max that I think a major step in that solution is getting a strong third, fourth, and fifth party on the table, because again, it's going to force the parties that exist to be more true to their self. It's going to bring more voices to the actual table instead of the anybody but them. because that's the biggest issue right now. Is that because like we were talking about it a little bit in the post with the Todd interview. It's like both the House and the Senate have police reform bills on the table right now, and they both 100% refuse the others. And so you're both working on the same project. Let's get together and let's work this out and make this a thing, instead of, well, the House version, because it's a Democrat House, sucks because we're the Senate and we're a Republican Senate. The Senate version sucks because we're a Democrat House and it's a Republican Senate. And it's just like, there are details, and there's details that are majorly different, and they need to be worked out and figured out and stuff like that. And I get that, but it's just like, it's so specifically, well, the House version is blue, so I can't vote for it because I'm red.
Let me throw a little wrinkle out here. So at the end of the day, yes, that's true, but I think we also forget. So, have you been to D.C. before?
Yes.
Okay.
I marched in front of a president.
I
performed for Bush.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, pride.
Yeah.
I was in the Pride. Pride of the Southland Marching Band, bitches.
Jesus. Oh God.
Anyway.
So the question is, while you think about what you want to say,
I know what I'm trying to say. I just think I lost the tone.
Is there any way you would? What could Green Bay do to make you not a Green Bay fan?
That's a good question, actually.
That is a good question. I'd have to think about that. I'd be really, really...
Max from fucking left field.
I would be really, really, really upset if the city sold the team to a
God damn.
to a Jerry Jones or some bullshit asshole like that.
I think that's with
I'm
politics.
I'm with you. All right.
That's kind of where I'm going with politics. Like,
that's a great example because
I grew up in Denver.
That's a fantastic example.
I'm
he was back there doing nothing, just drunk as fuck, just playing on his phone, Angry Birds and shit. Here he comes with some fucking genius shit.
No, but I think that's in politics. Like, you think you're a Democrat, right? And just like I think I'm a Bronco fan. And
I don't think I'm a Democrat. You looked at me.
No.
You're just saying hypothetically.
You're a fucking idiot. That's what we think you are, not a Democrat.
I was the idiot. How do you guys were the team against me? What the fuck just happened?
No,
that's coming. That's later.
But that's how we are. I mean, that's how majority. I'm sorry, I dropped my phone.
Is he gonna fuck this up? Is that what's gonna happen?
That's how majority people feel. Like, they love their team. And to get somebody to switch from that team,
and that's horseshit.
Well, no,
but that's where we're at.
Right, but a great example is I was talking to B at work today, and I was like, I don't know how it got up, but I was like, I made a joke like, vote for Jo Jorgensen, and he's like, I don't want to waste my vote. I was like, what? And he's like, I mean, she doesn't have a chance to win. Why would I vote for her?
If that's the case, you only vote Republican in this state.
Right, but I followed that with, I was like, he's a big Clemson fan. He's been a Clemson fan forever, and I was like, well, that's why you're a Clemson fan, because they win all the time. He's like, well, no, I was a Clemson fan before they won. I was like, why were you a fan when they didn't win? Because you don't support losers. And he's like, well, and he kind of shut down on it, and then.
But that's different. You didn't actually answer his question. All you did was repeat what he just said.
What are you talking about?
He asked you, what would Green Bay have to do for you not to be a Green Bay fan? And I'm saying you just repeated the same thing. You just gave a different version of it.
No, I'm agreeing with his idea that.
Yeah, answer the question is what I'm saying.
I mean, I did. I said, fucking sell the team to Jerry Jones, and
you said you'd be upset.
I'm not a fan if they sell the team to Jerry Jones.
You're not a fan at all. That thing behind you is going to be gone.
I'm not going to burn. I'm not going to tear down my statues.
You have a statue?
I'm not going to tear down my statues because my feelings haven't changed. I'm not changing history. But my moving forward, I might.
You don't change history by taking that off your wall.
You said burn it.
That doesn't change history either. You're just burning it.
Right, but I'm not going to say that I wasn't a fan in the past. But I'm not going to destroy the history. I might remove it.
What team are you going to be in?
I might remove it from sight. I'm joking about the fucking statue thing. Do what?
Yeah.
What team are you going to be a fan of then?
I don't know.
This is interesting, and so you said this, and I started thinking about this too. Like how many times over the last 10 years? I'm a Cowboys fan. How many times over the last 10 years that I've said,
shut the program down.
Hold on.
Stop it.
Hold
Stop
on.
it.
No, really.
Just fucking end the program. Right. Program is over.
Okay.
AC's a fucking Cowboys fan.
Okay. All right. We'll let it get him out of his system. Okay. So I can't tell you how many times over the last 10 years that Jerry Jones has done something dumb, like dumb as fuck, and I've said to myself, I want them to lose every fucking game the rest of the season. Like we're like 0-3, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm done, dude. Like I'm 0-16, I'm okay with that. And it's interesting that you made that sort of that question about the Packers, because there have been times where I was completely against the Cowboys winning a game for the rest of that particular year. I don't give a fuck. They need to lose. And I've been a Cowboys fan since the Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith days.
So why are you still a fan?
So let me switch. Okay, if you want to answer the question first, then I'll switch.
Why am I still a fan? I don't follow it as much now because I truly, I like Jerry Jones, the owner. I cannot stand Jerry Jones, the general manager. Truly.
All right, so keeping the analogy alive, but kind of shifting the focus of it,
Sure.
would be what would the Packers have to do to make me not a football fan anymore? Is the better way to put it. If we're going to keep the analogy more true,
I don't know if that's true.
No, that's not true.
Because that means you're disengaged completely from politics, which would be the metaphor.
right?
So you're not that you're completely disengaged with politics. It's that you're completely disengaged with your party affiliation, which would be your Packers.
Okay, I mean, well then, I don't know specifically, but I mean, at least traditionally, if we're going to go back into what we're actually talking about, is that I would have called myself a Republican for, I mean, and you've said it before that you voted for
Bush twice.
Yes,
I did.
I mean, I would have for a long time called myself a Republican, and as I've matured and as I've started kind of questioning where I sit and why, I've changed my stance on that, and that's why I'm the token libertarian here. Because that I feel like that party more identifies with who I think I am and what I think we as a country can do to be a better country. So it's a solid analogy. I just don't know if it practically applies. I get it.
I think it practically applies because it gets to the heart of really what you're asking is how do you avoid tribalism, period? Like, how do you get to a point where you say, there's something that the Broncos do that piss me off enough that I don't maybe follow them for a few years, and I go, maybe I still follow football.
Like pick up Tom Brady, would that be something would be a problem for you?
Yes.
Would it really?
Yeah, I mean, over the last couple of years, this recent thing, I've been a Broncos fan, but not as much as I probably have been in the past, just because the turmoil after Peyton Manning retired and the
carousel of
quarterbacks and people. Like, of course, I follow them and I watch them, but I've not been invested as I was like, oh shit, Broncos fucking playing. I'm watching them every day. And there's many Sundays where I'm like out and doing shit and not even watching football. And it's pushed me away, kind of like politics. I mean, I think that's a very good analogy of politics. Of who do I like, who I don't like. Like, I was a Trump supporter, and the more I hear about Jo Jorgensen, I'm like, man, she's not bad. I love her gun control. He's not even got good gun control.
But so what I'm hearing is that I'm more invested and I like my team more when I'm winning.
Well, hold that thought for just a second. Do you feel like that the decisions that the Broncos have made have been good faith efforts to make the team better over the years post Manning?
No,
I think that's the issue. Is that I don't think that you feel like that there have been attempts to make the team and the fan base proud of the product and the values that were instilled like prior to Peyton Manning when Elway was even playing. That those things are now missing, which is why you're not actually paying attention to it as much.
Yeah, it's not that they're like...
It's not that they suck.
No, because, I mean, they sucked because they've not won Super Bowls. That's sucking, obviously. But just the product of the direction that you're seeing the team go is not...
Right.
Like, if you're like, oh, we got this new guy or whatever, but it's like, why are we hiring... people that this guy, he won a Super Bowl for Baltimore, let's hire this guy for a couple years. It's like,
I mean, I think that if we're gonna go down, if we're really gonna go down to football talk, I think the way the league functions has changed, and that's not necessarily a Broncos or a Packers or a Cowboys or a Falcons sort of thing. I think the league has changed in the way the game plays and stuff like that, and the way contracts work and all that stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is shifted around a little bit too. That makes it harder if you don't get that signature, especially quarterback.
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
True.
Who?
Exactly.
I'm just saying, like, and again, I don't know that. I mean, I don't know. I get the analogy, and I think I think it's fully accurate in that tribalism part of. It doesn't matter what my team does. I'm always going to be that. I'm always going to be that fan. It'd be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get, like, if I was a fucking...
That's what I was going to say. Like, there's a diehard Cleveland Browns fan right now
that
haven't won anything at all since, like, Vietnam.
And you're like, what the fuck? How are you still a fan?
And they show up to every fucking home game, and they're dressed in, like, this fucking dog pound bullshit. And you just wonder, is it the team... Or is it the camaraderie? Is it the showmanship? Is it the entertainment? No pun intended. Like, right? Is that what it is? Is that what some people?
We're getting there. Episode 100 is coming up.
I mean, is that what it is for some folks that are so? If there's an R or a D after the name, I'm not gonna critique them. Is that what it is? Really? Is it just that?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it is.
I assume it's like I'm afraid of critiquing them because if I do, it means that now my enemy my enemy has more power now.
But saying that too though is that if, like, I mean, the Browns being, if we're sticking the analogy, the Browns being one is you have the Falcons did it for a while for sure. I think the Browns did it too. They had the paper bag. I know Detroit did it for a while.
The Lions did it for sure. Like I used to live there.
That paper bag thing where they all paper bag. They put the paper bag on their head, but they'd still come to the games. And so there was camaraderie in the fan base, in that we're all in this shithole together kind of thing too.
Yeah.
But that to me is a critique. Putting that paper bag on your head, it's like, I'm ashamed to be a fan, but I am. And I put the paper bag on my head, and I go out in public with my paper bag on my head. That's the critique of the team. That's you screaming out loud that I don't like that you suck. I still love you guys, but I'm angry about it. See my paper bag as the example. And so I think I think that's at least an example in the analogy we're running, in that at least in football, there is a fan base that is willing to vocally say something about the issue that they're having in front of them. And the hope would be is to push it back into the actual conversation, is that, as you've argued many times, is that we need to, even though it's on our team, we need to be capable of putting the paper bag on our head.
But I would argue, though, that the paper bag doesn't actually do anything except cause more attention to the team. And the only thing that's going to change anything in this particular scenario is less money going to the team. And that's not going to happen if more people are showing up with paper bags on their heads. They're still going to get the money because you're still buying the beer. Yeah. You're still buying the hot dog. So that's not actually taking care of the problem. All you're doing really is just sort of saying, it's like you're the fat kid in second grade and you're out there on the playground. You call yourself fat to take away the attention of the fact that you're fat. It's like, I know that we suck. I know that I'm an idiot for spending my money for being here, but I'm going to put a paper bag over my head, and you can't make fun of me for being here because I have a paper bag over my head, and I'm calling myself the fat kid on the playground. Right. You know what I mean? Like, right. That doesn't actually do anything.
Right.
So, I'm assuming that's why, like, the last team in the draft selection is offered the first draft pick.
Right.
Yeah, correct. The worst team gets first draft pick. So,
which has always been like a joke. Like with the Browns, like, they've gotten Johnny Manziel years ago. He had the first round pick, and it was a fucking joke. Like, he was great in college. When he came to Cleveland, didn't do so great, and made a fucking ass of himself.
So, AC, question. What is your opinion on the, I would say riots, but we're going to say protests?
Oh, wait, we're switching topics now?
I guess.
No, we're kind of staying on the same topic.
Sure, go ahead.
So, what's going on in America with all these protests around? What's your opinion on that?
I think any sort of violence is not the answer. I think anytime you're burning down buildings is not the answer. I'm for any sort of peaceful protest. It's a freedom of expression and speech. I don't have any issue with it whatsoever. I think anytime that we're firing from a crowd, either a citizen or firing into a crowd, a police officer, both of those are wrong. Both of those happened in Louisville. I don't think that I'm particularly. I don't know. I think that that's a fair stance on the entire thing. I mean, we should have protests as a part of our freedom of speech, but anytime,
Okay, so I'm
trying to get
I'm gonna steal.
In what way are we?
I'm gonna steal direction here real quick. Is that as our resident medical professional here, how do you feel about protests? Given the current climate,
in this situation, I think these folks should have masks on for sure.
Good answer. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, I don't know what you want from me. I mean,
no, I find like it's one of those that
I would argue real quick. Sorry, I'm really sorry to cut you off. I would argue that there's a certain percentage of this, probably not 51%, probably less than that. I would argue that there's a certain percentage of this protest stuff that is a result of quarantine for the period of time.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not taking away the responsibility for some of these assholes that have done some of this ridiculous stuff, assuming that it wasn't to try to make the entire thing look bad and it wasn't staged. Some of it I think was.
On that,
I read that.
The mayor of
he was wrong.
The mayor of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And I've heard at least and verifiably that he knew it was wrong when he said it.
Well, he should be kicked out of office then. If he knew it was wrong. He should be.
All right, so real quick, I'm sorry. I'm just for standalone sake of this episode. A couple episodes back, many episodes back, AC had stated that the mayor of Minneapolis came out and said that like 80-something% of people arrested,
which is a direct quote.
Right. I'm not saying that you
just
lied.
want to throw that out there.
I'm not saying that you lied about it, but he said that the mayor of Minneapolis said that a large percentage, 80-something% or something like that, were not local, and so it was a question of whether or not this was intentionally overemphasized by outside groups trying to make whatever happen or whatever like that. And it has come out since then that was a false statement, and then there's question on whether or not that statement was not AC's statement, but the mayor's statement was false, and whether or not it was intentionally false or not is in question.
And I just want to point out that I said that's bullshit back then, and I was right.
I'm glad you guessed that correctly.
So the funny thing is that we can disagree politically on a lot of stuff, but we agree on the rioting and the destruction of property.
Sure.
And it's funny because we can agree on that, but there's a lot of people that say, well, we got to have the rioting to make a change.
And I'd say they're dumb.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you said it too, though, in that, it's like, as the quote protester says, well, we kneeled during football games, we protested, we marched down this street and did whatever, and nothing changed. So what's the next step? I mean, if you're not going to listen, we got to
destroy shit and burn shit down to make you realize.
To clarify, it's not that I said that I was justifying it. I was saying that I understand their flawed rationale from going from I'm kneeling, nobody listens, to I'm burning a place down.
Right.
I never said that I thought that it was a justified action that they should be partaking in.
Right.
I'm saying that I
get
connect the dots to try to determine.
And I agree. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree that you could. I mean that logically, you're not listening when I'm talking nicely.
Sure.
So I need to turn this into a expletive-filled version of whatever I was just saying,
right?
To emphasize the point. And
we have agreed too much tonight.
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
You're getting diabetes over
we
here.
have not agreed at all.
No, you guys are. Whatever.
No, you two have agreed because you guys are fucking idiots. But anyway, on the whole point, but the it's funny that I brought it up. You weren't here. Talk about my aunts and uncles and stuff in Iowa that are they post shit all the time about how they fucking hate Trump and how Trump's a fucking idiot and he's a moron, which you will agree with.
Not all of it, but I'll agree with a lot of what you said.
Yeah, you'll agree with all that. But then when I had a drunken post on Facebook about situations and shit of what's going on with America right now, they all agreed with me, and it's crazy that.
Did they agree, or did they hit the little like button?
No, there was conversation.
There was conversation, and like, that's I can't agree with you more, and it's crazy that me and my aunt can have so much of a political view over I don't hate Trump as much as you hate Trump, and you think Trump's the fucking Antichrist.
You're talking about your aunt?
My aunt.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when it comes to what's going on in the world today, and I post this crazy drunken post about how I feel about all the shit going on, you totally agree with me. And it's like, why, if you agree with me on this huge rant, but politically, we are so far apart. It's crazy.
I think that goes back to the tribalism thing, really.
Yeah, it's that the parties are so far apart.
There was a time where we could actually sit in a room and disagree with somebody, and that'd be okay. You know what I mean? And I think that's unfortunate too. And going back to the two-party system, it doesn't benefit, at least in front of the cameras, even though they have lunch together all the time.
Right.
It doesn't benefit either party to say that they agree at all with the other party, at least in front of the cameras. So when the cameras are off, like you could be a Republican and I could be a Democrat, and we could say on the cameras that you're an asshole and I'm an asshole, and then when the cameras are off, we're going and having beer together. Like, that happens all the fucking time.
But it's crazy. Like, Nancy Pelosi that says that George Floyd was killed because of Republican GOP.
That was dumb.
And you're like...
That was dumb.
And...
It's rhetoric, and it's dumb. It should not have been said. I agree with you.
Yeah, and we were talking about it earlier, and then they had an interview after the fact. Like, I can understand you saying that, but then they were like, do you not owe the Republican Party a apology?
Right.
And she was just like, flat out, no.
Right.
And it's like,
and she's wrong there.
Why do you make that line in the sand?
I agree.
That you cannot
100%
be like, oh, I said that out of. And it's crazy that these politicians that we expect to.
It's a lack of humility.
Yeah, and they can't. And whether it's Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump, and I'm not quite sure if Donald Trump is the one posting on his Twitter or not.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think he is.
I think he is too.
I don't know, but like, is there a thing like? I mean, politicians obviously have all sorts of people that work for them posting this shit, and it's like, you say something, you can't be like, oh, I was in the heat of the moment and said it, and like that shit, you can't come back from that. We can joke around and say stuff and be the heat of the moment and whatever, and be like, oh, I was just trying to razz you, whatever. But like politicians, they say it. They don't turn around, no matter who it is. Like I don't know what that feeling is that they cannot say, oh well, man, I was joking about that, or I should have said that, but they don't. If they say something, they stick to
at
that
least to the
shit.
cameras. Because like so there was an ex of mine who he knows very well, whose mom works for the Metro Police in DC, and like she had conversations all the time with us about how politicians from both sides of the aisle. Now, granted, this is pre-Obama, so this has been a while ago now.
Probably 2004.
Yeah, where both sides of the aisle would just have lunch together. And now, clearly, if two people don't like each other, I mean, they don't like each other, at least in the media. If it seems like the two people don't like each other, they're not going to fucking have lunch with them. And like Pelosi and Trump, you would assume are not going to have lunch with one another. But this sort of thing was happening 15, 20 years ago, where you'd get in front of the cameras. Now, granted, the rhetoric wasn't as high as it is now, but like you could have a Lindsey Graham and I don't know, give me a Democrat from. Say Pelosi. You could have a Lindsey Graham and a Pelosi 15, 18 years ago. They could sit down and have lunch together and not be an issue.
You could say Biden for your Democrat back then.
That's fair. Totally.
Which is one of the part. I mean, not to derail the direction, but which is one of the issues. And we had term limit conversations prior. It's like, these fuckers have been in there for fuck ever. So doing it for fuck ever.
Before we get to that, I really want to kill this dead horse even more. It is unfortunate that we can't. If this is the model that we're creating, both for 24/7 media attention and advertisers to watch, and for us to have a new news cycle and all this other stuff, if this is the thing that we're creating on TV, which is if you are disagreeing with me, then you are evil or you're a bad person, that is not helping this situation at all. Assuming that we are all on the same page about making things better, which the argument I would say is not actually what we're trying to do. We're trying to continue with tribalism because that actually helps us.
Yeah, yep.
But it is unfortunate that we can't sit here and have these sorts of conversations and disagree and be okay and go outside and have a cigar and bullshit about stuff that matters to us in our everyday life.
Exactly. That's kind of the point I was trying to make is of football. Like, we all have different favorites of football.
But to keep the analogy, though, you've got fan bases that'll fucking murder each other. Literally fucking murder each other when they get in the same
And they're dumb.
vicinity. I agree. I'm just saying.
It is. It's the same reason why, I want to go to every NFL stadium, and I don't know if I can go to the Raiders because I'm going to go to every...
Oh, you can now? You can go in the Roomba in Vegas? It looks awesome.
In Vegas. I'm sure Vegas can be completely different, but, like, back when it was in Oakland, if I was a Bronco fan, I want to go to the Raiders game.
How come? I don't know the backstory.
There's been murders in the parking lot, all sorts of shit.
Yeah, make you take your shit off. You can't wear the Bronco stuff while you're going in the stadium. They'll stop you from going in. It's bad, and like, fuck, I can't go to that. And that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
But most people, you can be a Raider fan or a Bronco fan or a Charger fan. That's our conference, right? And so we can bullshit and argue and
Nobody
say
cares
stuff.
about the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs. But we could.
They're smart.
We could argue and be like, fuck your team, but then have a beer afterwards.
Yeah.
But when it comes to politics, why can we be so invested in our football team, but when it comes to politics, we can't?
I think if we can't criticize our guy,
if we
can't criticize our guy, we don't need to be in this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious.
You can love, like, I can love my Broncos, and then, like, someone's like, you don't have a fucking quarterback. I agree, man.
I'm totally with you.
We don't have a fucking quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that.
We don't have a general manager.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy is a dementia patient.
Wait, Joe Biden's owns the
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. So you can see that, and you can understand that. You can talk through that kind of situation. But when it comes to politics, it's a fucking hard line.
I mean,
it bothers me that that's the case because, like, for the most part, we all have the same fucking interests. Otherwise, you wouldn't be talking to that person. Like, if there are two people at the bar together, you guys chose that bar for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, we're not so different that one person would want to be in one bar, another person would want to be in some, like, high-rise, highfalutin fucking $400 bottle of wine fucking bar. Like, you've got to have some commonality, otherwise you wouldn't have been in the same fucking place at the same time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's irritating.
I think there's a misconception. I mean, it's not necessarily a misconception, but I think there's a power place to how much more important government is, which it is, but there's that this is serious, like this is real shit, like football. I mean, it's just it's that's the distraction from life. That's something over there. It's not that important, where government isn't that. And so I think that turns the volume up, for lack of a better word, as far as, you already have the tribal, I mean, to keep the football thing going, you already have that tribalism in football. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, if my team loses today, you've argued this with me a bunch of times. It's like, does it really affect my life if my team has a fucking 6-10 season?
I would recommend Noam Chomsky. If anybody's ever heard of Noam Chomsky, you got to read that son of a bitch. He's amazing. Like, he critiques this stuff better than anybody could ever imagine. It does not affect me at all whether or not UT wins games. I'd love for them to win games, but I've got to a point where, like, when we lost the first 2 games, I'm like, fuck it, I want to lose the rest of the season. Like, this, like, I'm ready to watch the world burn at this point.
So here's a good question, AC.
Sure.
So, did you make more money under Trump than you did Obama?
Yes, but that's because he's later in his career than he was when he was under Obama.
Also true.
I mean,
well, not also true, but true.
I mean, I would assume that let's it's not going to happen because I'm going to win my bet. But assuming Biden wins, he's going to make more money under Biden than he did under Trump.
That's also true.
Just because he's going to be further along in his career.
That's also true.
Now, as a percentage,
no. I'm not disagreeing with that fact. The point I'm trying to make is how much money you make does not depend on who the president is.
I 100% agree with that.
Well, I mean, again, that's the point.
I totally agree with that.
The whole,
that's the thing. Is like
how
much the president, whoever it is, Democrat, Republican, fucking independent, whatever, how much effect does that make on your life?
Unless you're selling fucking rocket launchers, it doesn't. I mean, realistically, and this is where I get into shit for arguing how FEMA's stupid and whatever, is that the dependence on the federal government as a whole is the problem. And I think that and going to all our analogies as are going on tonight is that you take all there's this perceived there's a perceived value of how important the federal government is into our day-to-day lives, which is the false perception. And that if we actually get realistic about what needs to matter to me and you and our everyday and the here and there's and all that kind of shit, it's not what's going on in DC. And whether the FEMA part was a side note, sorry.
Also incorrect.
But whether the whole thing is incorrect?
No, the FEMA part was
okay,
incorrect.
Fine. Whatever. Separate episode. There's the misconception of the power and the value of DC, of what DC is to our day-to-day life. And then
who's pushing that?
Who's pushing
what you just said? What did you just say? Could you just restate what you just said?
As far as the perception that DC, that the federal government has the impact in our life.
Who is pushing that?
I mean, I would put it on a it's a media issue.
Okay, why? Why are they pushing that?
Because we watch it.
Okay, why? Well, why do they care that we watch it?
I think it's that I think a big part of it is that in the major two-party
simpler
tribalism. No, in the major two-party tribalism system, it's a centralized thing that I can agree with or I can disagree with, and that there's the fuck, I don't know. That's a good question.
I think it's the elephant in the room. Like everybody knows it doesn't fucking matter, but the reason why we pretend like it does matter is because it sells.
Yeah,
we don't give a shit about this stuff. It's the biggest fucking wool over the face in the history of man. This shit, whatever the fucking orange orangutan does in Pennsylvania Avenue, with good reason, doesn't fucking matter. But every day it's that he's done something dumb. Now he may have done something dumb, but it doesn't fucking matter whether we don't need to hear about this shit. Right. But these dumbasses are gonna be glued to the fucking the television. It sells fucking. It's marketing and advertising.
It sells fucking drugs.
Everybody fucking knows that the local stuff. Like anybody who actually knows, the local shit matters more than anything else. Fucking matters. But really, at the end of the day, it's the marketing and the money that comes from that shit on CNN and Fox News that's perpetuating this entire fucking bullshit.
I mean, the great example is. Look at marijuana. Federal government says it's illegal, and states are like, "Fuck you, it's legal."
Yeah.
And what has the federal government done? So our federal government does not have jurisdiction over our state. So it's more important, state level, what's going on in our state.
For sure.
I think technically they still have federal oversight over it,
but they are choosing not to do it.
Right.
So really, it's the same
my
thing.
Understanding.
Why? Because they know the people in that state have voted for that shit.
Yeah, right. I think they've decided to semi-respect the state's rights, and
which is the gross part is that they've decided to.
I don't think they've decided to.
It's not worth their effort to fight it.
I think that's going back to the elephant in the room. They don't care. They don't care. If they cared, it would be done.
Actually, you know what? So we've talked about this before, and maybe we should all sit down and do this one day, like realistically, at least on the simple version of how much money do you total pay in taxes, and where does it go?
I just did my taxes today, as a matter of fact.
You're fucking late, bro.
What the fuck,
it's
man?
Fucking June.
No, it was
extended to
July.
Yeah, it was extended to July, but why did you not pay that shit early?
Wait, July 30th or July 1st?
I don't make any extra money by doing that.
I don't know. Well, you don't make any. Did you pay taxes?
Yeah. What do you mean I pay taxes? What the hell do I look like, a fucking fence
No,
jumper?
are you getting a return, or are you...
Yeah, I'm getting money back.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Why would you wait?
Wait.
Because it's inconsequential. It's not enough money for me to care about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, seriously, is it the end of June or
I don't
July?
This is a real question.
I don't know.
The real question is, am I going to get audited? It's the question.
No,
like, why would you want that money early?
Okay, so...
I still need to do mine.
All right.
You need to do that shit then.
Bring it back in real quick.
I will.
Of your total tax dollars that come out of your pocket, where do most of them go?
I don't have you're going to educate me? Is that what you're doing?
No, I mean, realistically, it probably goes to the state and local.
I have no idea, and I think if we're making any assumptions without having data in front of us, we're doing our Bolivian listeners a disservice.
I can do my own. Fuck, let me think here. No. Okay, so no. Realistically, quickly doing my own in my head. Realistically, I pay more in taxes to the federal government than I do the state and local.
Is that a question you're looking at?
No, that's just that is my statement. And so, if we're going to ask why the federal government has, as you know, is it part of it's because it's a shit show and it sells fucking ads when I go on and watch the news.
51% of it, I would argue.
But also part of it is that if we're going to get down to the economics of it, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty confident that I spend more in federal taxes, Social Security, shit like that the federal government takes out of my check than I do on local government. And so
I don't know. What's your point? I don't have any of that data, but
no, he's saying that you spend more on federal taxes than you do on state taxes, and if state means more to your living, why the hell
state should take more of my money?
Spend more money on federal.
So if that's actually your argument, then I would say that it doesn't matter who the puppet on Pennsylvania Avenue is. What matters is you get somebody at the state level, your senators, you get them in office that could potentially veto what's going on there at Pennsylvania Avenue. Because you can directly affect that here. You can't do that by yelling at a television set and saying that Trump is an idiot.
Right, but I'm just saying that if we're going to talk about why the public interest, I rescind my argument because the public interest is probably not doing the math on where their tax money is going. But at least for me, on the surface, I'm thinking that if I'm questioning what my government is doing, I'm questioning what they're doing with my tax money and then the deficit debt burden they're putting on my kids and my grandkids and so on. And who is doing more of that? Because, I mean, okay, so like a good example would be like right now we're talking about all the coronavirus shit going on. And there's been discussion of, I haven't seen anything recently on it, but of another stimulus bill coming out. And there's been argument over whether or not the federal government was going to cover some debt from certain states and not other states. Because of their expenditures and shit like that. And it's like, well, Tennessee has like a $2 billion rainy day fund that they put forth in their system to set aside for some shit goes down. We can pay these different systems and services in our state level. So that's tax money out of my pocket that my state took from me and smartly put aside.
Thank you, Bertison and Haslam.
Right, but my federal
Republican
government...
and a Democrat, mind you.
My federal government, who is taking money out of my paycheck, is going to take money out of my paycheck and pay California's debt off because they don't manage their money well. And so I guess my point being is that there is, on an economic standpoint, there is interest.
What's your solution?
My solution would be to minimize the federal government.
Okay, how do you do that?
Conversation.
Okay, I understand that. That seems like rhetoric. Tell me how you do that.
I mean, you start with, you take out...
without going down the libertarian road again, because like generalities aside, I mean, like I don't disagree that that's a problem. I agree with that, but like if that's the case, then we are stuck at agreeing with the problem and we're not actually offering a solution.
Right. I don't know. You're not wrong. And I mean, like just some generalities would be like you get rid of, you get rid of federal level. I don't know, like
it's more complicated than that. I think it's what you're trying to say.
You're right, but you get rid of federal level employment issues. You get
like what?
The minimum wage.
You get rid of minimum wage
federally, sure.
That's dumb.
You let the state do it.
No, it's not dumb.
It's not dumb.
No.
Okay. Well, then it's solved. It's done. It's not dumb.
How is it dumb?
You think it's a good idea to say, okay, well, all of the companies are going to start allowing $4.25 an hour. That sounds like a good idea.
I can do it now at my shop.
$4.25 an hour.
Well, it's only because one of your kids is 18.
No. Like if a company operates, because we got audited by the Federal Labor Board, if I want to have a beer bar here, a block from where we're sitting right now, and I say I only accept cash, I can pay the people $1 an hour.
Right.
I can pay them 50 cents an hour.
That's a couple of different conversations through the federal lady and the lawyers and different stuff we've talked about. Yeah.
Because federal government only has jurisdiction over us if we are involved in interstate commerce that makes it a federal issue. The state of Tennessee does not have a federal minimum wage. So we can do it now.
So you're saying you're not against the minimum wage, you're against the federal minimum wage.
That was what I was trying to say too, but
I was just saying that
Okay.
the state of Tennessee doesn't care what we pay our people. The federal government cares what we pay people. Like, minimum wage does not matter. Because if you work hard, you'll get a...
we're going back to the Facebook post. Go ahead and do it. Let's do that. Let's go down that hole.
No, like, if you work for your money...
We have 15 minutes left.
Oh,
I've got a cigar that is...
We got 3 days
it
left.
can't smoke itself.
So, would you do your job for $3 an hour?
Not at all.
No. So companies know that. They have to pay it. You're nowhere near minimum wage. So what jobs are going to be below minimum wage?
Essential jobs?
Is that
I'm
a
just
question or a
saying.
statement?
No, it's a statement.
No, I'm saying what?
No, I meant him.
But
Who's going to be getting paid less than the $7.25 federal minimum wage?
I mean, this goes to a ton of fuck issues because
Right.
it goes back into. I mean,
living wage and
The federal is $7.25.
but it goes
Who's
back
going to be
in.
making less than that?
But it goes back into how do we compete on a world stage in manufacturing? We don't because we pay.
Did we just switch topics to whether or not federal minimum wages? We were talking about how we make change at a federal level, and you said that you would cut some of the bureaucratic, whatever your rhetoric was.
Yeah, I fucked that up, and that's fine.
So we're not going down
Well,
that
I'm shifting on to his thing because I
just wanted to figure out, like, are you switching topics because it's a
Well, okay, so I will pull a max out of my ass and go $170,000 a year or whatever to be a fucking senator and that kind of bullshit.
they shouldn't make that much money.
I
think we all agree with that.
That would be a start.
Okay. That's a reasonable request, and I think that that should happen.
My saying is, for a senator, if you're a senator, you should make your medium of the state you live in.
Median.
That's what I said.
You said medium.
Like size.
Well, medium and medium are the same
No,
thing.
they're not because
they are because he said the same word.
We're in the United States.
Median and
The
medium.
medium and medium are the same thing.
They are. They're
You're right. They are.
very
You're
center.
absolutely right. You're right.
Right.
next time when somebody asks you guys
Large
want your steak
and large are the same thing.
No.
This episode is brought to you by alcohol.
I encourage you.
Medium.
And Fruit of the Loom.
Wait. Medium and medium, right, are the same thing.
Okay, so
It's the midway point.
I swear you said
of
the
what
same
we're talking
word.
that's false as shit. Assuming
No, it's not.
assuming you said both words.
This is the best
Differently?
fucking episode ever.
Assuming you said the two words median and medium.
That's what I said.
Okay, so assuming you said
Did you say that? I never heard that. I haven't heard that at all.
Medium.
Assuming you said that. Assuming you said that the medium, the medium waist size and the median waist size are not the same thing. If you take the average American, the medium waist size is smaller than the median because the median
For
is,
sure.
the median is probably in
I
the
work in
XL
healthcare.
range.
That's 100% true.
I'm just saying if we're gonna play stat games or whatever here, medium and median are not the same thing. But no, that's something that I've thought about too.
It's
I think
halfway between small and large.
I think that's. I mean,
That's the midway point.
but I think the premise of what you were trying to get at is a good idea. I think it's
a mean and median.
I think if you take the median, the median income,
You don't even fucking know right now.
the median income of the district you represent,
And the mean and the average.
the median income of the district you represent as the paycheck for the job that you are representing. I get the premise of that. The problem with that is how do you break that down on different levels as far as like, our friend Todd and Kyle that came in this week, if they got the median income of the district they're representing, That's a big fucking number.
I'm talking about senators.
I know. I'm just saying. But how you break that down through the system?
We're talking about one thing.
We're talking about a game here. We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. Not a game. Not a game. Not a game. We're talking about practice, man.
I'm trying to move past the repeating the same word and saying they're different things, but they're the same thing. I'm trying to move past that.
Medium and median.
This is the best fucking episode ever. It started out like a fucking big pile of dog turds, and god damn it, it got so much better.
Man, I wish that Democrat was here right now. He'd be like,
fuck,
what the fuck did
Who are these motherfuckers? Jesus,
Why did I go to law school?
Yeah, he was like, 20 years in the military, law school, jag. You have to listen to this shit show.
That's funny. Jesus Christ.
I
do agree with that, though. I think 170 across the board is not an appropriate number.
Well, I mean, it goes to the same thing
For
as far as the stupid stimulus package. It's like $1,200 here is decent amount of money, where $1,200 in New York ain't shit.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's and that's one of those things. It's like as far as where the central government issue is a failure, it's like that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense if you're living out in the fucking plains of Montana. $1,200 is a huge amount of money versus $1,200 is a fucking week and a half in New York
That's
City.
assuming that we were actually wanting this to make sense in the first fucking place.
Oh, okay, but I mean,
No, it's not.
That's not what that is not what the government is supposed to be doing. Is trying to make sense.
It's what it's supposed to be doing,
Okay.
sure. But what they're actually doing is placating us.
Right. Because
That's it.
Right, because liquor stores are essential.
In fairness,
They are,
healthcare wise, they actually are essential.
I agree. I mean,
if you're an alcoholic and you don't have alcohol, your chances of having a seizure and dying is actually a real thing.
Right.
So it really is. It really is.
That's 10% I was talking about.
Huh?
That's 10% I was talking about.
Which 10%? I figured that was the median you were talking about.
The useless 10%.
Mean?
Oh, okay.
Mean or median?
Median. The mean median.
Median.
Wait, are we talking about like a psychic now, or are we on mediums?
median.
Like,
I'm just looking for Sagittarius. Is all I'm looking for.
Hey, I'm a Sagittarius.
Are you really? Oh,
Yeah,
so am I.
you have the same fucking birthday.
That's
boys.
the joke. God
Jesus
damn
Christ.
it!
Children. I didn't get your. He didn't get it.
He didn't get it, but
When
I knew what I was talking
birthday?
about.
You were born in 74?
74?
Yeah,
no, mine was
exactly.
Mine's 64.
Oh, okay.
I'm older than he is. That's fine.
What the fuck were we talking about?
So you're a rat,
Mean,
right?
median,
A rat,
and mode.
Chinese.
I think I'm a muskrat. The MUSK is before the RAT. I think.
So you're like Louisiana.
Yeah,
rat.
yeah.
And see, I'm like a normal household rat. So
Oh.
it's years off.
Yeah, you can put me in jambalaya.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
what
Seth.
were we talking about?
I mean, that's it.
That's it. I mean, we can be done. It's fine. Episode 16's in the books, kids. Thank you, alcohol, for making this really exciting.
This was actually pretty good.
I had a good time. I mean, I always have a good time.
Ups and downs.
The Bolivian listeners, we'd really appreciate it if you'd reach out to us. Actually, really, truly, any listeners. We have an email address now, is that right?
Yep. Almostinagreement@gmail.com.
What is that one more time?
Almostinagreement@gmail.com.
If you would email us, that would be great.
Or
Truly.
the Irish guy can email us too.
Anybody can email us.
She might be a
Anybody,
girl.
truly anybody should email us.
Anything, yeah. You give us a topic to talk about. I don't care if it's
For sure. It doesn't matter.
Know.
We're not gonna
Irish.
stay on it, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
We'll at least say the words.
we've got to figure out what's going on next week. It is the Great American 4th of July next Saturday, so I'm assuming we're not going to record on the 4th of July.
I'm off.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Fuck it,
All
we're
right,
doing
fuck
it
it,
anyway.
we're here. Happy 4th, everybody. I'm going to go back to saying Juneteenth needs to be a bigger fucking deal.
Most deaf.
I love you guys. I love everybody listening, and have a great night, and we'll check in later.